Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about free legendary champions. There is a handful of them that if you're a new player, or if you're going to be starting a new account or an alt account, that there are some promo codes that you can use to get yourself a free legendary. But you can only get one of them. And so I want to, and you might have seen this on the thumbnail already, I want to talk about these champions. I want to talk about what they're good at and why you might want to consider these, because there is a couple of them now, and we've actually added a new promo code this month in April as well. So I do want to kind of cover these and kind of go over their pros and their cons and which one ultimately you might want to pick. And before I get to that, though, I do want to let you know that now is the best time to start playing Raid, because if you use my QR code or in the link in the description down below, you will get yourself a free legendary Elena roll and 2 free epics, Rector Drath and Ugo at account level 15 and 30. Now, normally this is when I would tell you to go put in the promo code for Supreme Gallic here using Supreme 6, and you can do that. But in this video, we are going to be talking about him. We're also going to be talking about Sun Wukong. We're also going to be talking about Alice the Wanderer, because the Alice chase recently finished, but they recently also added her to the promo code. So that's interesting. But I want to talk about her and what she brings without all of the stuff that we got for free previously in the Alice chase. If you find the information in this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and you'd be greatly helping out this channel. So let's get started with the Hell Hades website. I love this website, by the way. A lot of useful information. There's some new player promo codes on here. These are the new ones, like the new account ones. Things like Supreme 6 for Supreme Gallic. There's a couple of other characters in here I might give some honorable mentions to, like Loki, because he is available as well. But I want to really focus on Wukong, Alice, and Supreme Gallic, because I think that those are the best ones. But there's also some other, if you go scroll further down, there's some promo codes here that you can actually, should be able to expand anyways. I thought it was over here. Yeah, these the kind of the ones that are still active. Also on my Discord server, I do have these available as well. So I want to start with Sun Wukong. Now I do have him in my. I have all of these characters except for Supreme Gallic, because I haven't played long enough. My promo code that I personally used when I started, which is about 3 months ago now, was Sun Wukong. I do have him in my account. I use him quite a bit. But the types of content that these characters are useful in vary quite a bit. So where I use Wukong the most is going to be in Arena. I do use him in, the same kind of content that you would use for a lot of other characters, right? Doom Tower, sometimes Doom Tower, sometimes obviously Faction Crypts and Cursed City. But as far as the actual dungeon bosses that I use him on, it's far and few between now. But he does have a really amazing aura that's very useful, the 28% speed aura in Arena. And this is pretty rare. And so I just want to reiterate that to get Sun Wukong, if this is something that you're interested before we finish up and talking about him, that you would go to the promo codes, type in Monkey King for Sun Wukong. So make sure that you would do that if he's the one that you want. Just want to go back to like what he does as far as his kick goes. So he is more, I haven't put any books into him. That's the unfortunate part. But what I really like about him, other than the Arena aura, which is really, really important for scaling up in Arena, and it's a very, especially with Tag Arena, you're going to want at least 3 characters with this kind of like speed in Arena, especially with that high, 28 to 30%. Until you get Arbiter, right? You're not going to have anyone that gives that kind of speed. So this is quite helpful. He does steal all buffs and place a block buff debuff for 2 turns. So this is really nice. And what I like is that it's guaranteed. As long as you have the accuracy, it's guaranteed. Doesn't require any books other than to get the damage up and the cooldowns down. But other than that, Sun Wukong is pretty viable, without legendary books, because for what you need to use them for, it's nice to have more damage. But aside from that, I don't think the books are actually that necessary to do what he does. He also places a sheep debuff, which is kind of interesting. Does like a big burst damage attack here on his A2 that ignores defense. So it hits pretty hard. If he gets a kill with that, it does some splash damage to the rest of the enemies. And then he also has a chance to stun on his A1, which goes up if the characters have any buffs. So he is like a damage-based character. What I actually really like about him is this part. So Sun Wukong is always going to revive After 3 turns taken, he gets 100% HP and 100% turn meter. And this is as long as somebody else on your team is alive, he can keep coming back. And this can have some really funny uses on the spider dungeon fight where he just is the target. If you can get him to be the target of the spiderlings and they just kill him over and over and he just keeps getting back up and it repeats the same thing again. In other modes where, maybe the fight's a little bit longer, but he'll get back up anyways after dying, it has a lot of use, and I do like him as a character, and so I didn't regret taking him as my first character, and he is still pretty good, but I kind of do favor PVE more than PvP, unfortunately, and so that's where I think he does lose some value there. As far as the Hell Hades website for Sun Wukong, I mean, he's given a 4 to 5, which is great. But as far as like the other places where you might use him, again, we talked about Spider, so that gives a 4-star rating there. Hydra boss, again, that's not really early game content, but is somewhere where you might use him later on. Doom Tower, there's a lot of characters that are usable in Doom Tower, but you can see that really in the PvE side of things, there's not a Bommel. No, not Bommel. Crap. That is Bommel, isn't it? No, I forget. Anyways, no, I think that is Bommel. God, I can't remember the Doom Tower bosses. But as far as PvE goes, like he doesn't have a lot of star ratings on there, and I think that's what's important. Is that I think in Raid Shadow Legends, especially in the early game, you really want a solid PvE champion that's really going to push the boundaries there. And I'm not exactly sure it's going to be him. That being said, I do want to talk about Supreme Gallic, who we talked about earlier on. So you're going to use the promo code. If I can just bring it back up on the screen, frankly, because that's easier. Supreme 6, right? So if you want Supreme Gallic, when you start the game off, use Supreme 6. And as far as what he does, now I don't have him unlocked, so I can't really show you in my roster screen, but I do know people who have been using him. And he is, honestly, probably the better option when it comes to PvE, when you're wanting to push the boundaries there, because his kit is a lot better. Starting off with, well, he actually has a 33% attack aura, so that's going to be really good in PvE as well. But he also will clear Fear, True Fear, Freeze, Provoke, Sleep Stun, and Petrification on his turn, which is really nice. And actually, no, it's not. Sorry, not on his turn. It's just whenever he gets hit by it. It's on a cooldown of 4 though. But then he gets a free turn basically when that triggers. So that's really really nice. That's this. This happens probably more in PvP though, which is funny than PvE. I don't know how many times I'm actually hit with those debuffs really on most dungeon fights. That's not really a thing. Maybe stun on occasion. As far as his A3 goes, this is really, really nice. It's an AoE on a cooldown of 4, but if you put books in it, you can get into a cooldown of 3, which is very low as far as A3s go. So it attacks all enemies, AoE damage, has a 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit. So you only need really like 90% crit, I guess, for this skill to get that guaranteed crit. And then 75% chance of placing HP burn and block buffs for 2 turns. So that's really nice. And then it places a 30% decreased speed debuff on targets whose turn meter is higher than 50%. So this one's a little bit conditional. But this is a really good skill with a lot of good debuffs. And again, you can get that 75% up to 100% if you put some books into that. His A2 attacks 4 times at random, but he gets an increased attack buff before he uses this. So that is nice as well, and it lasts for 3 turns. So essentially, after you book this out, he's gonna have attack up like pretty much all the time. Each hit has an extra 10% of chance of it. So again, you only need that 90% crit to be capped for Supreme Gallic. And then he can activate HP burn, which is really good because if he's attacking the same target, actually, it can trigger the HP burn multiple times. So that is really, really good. Where HP burn does AoE damage. Like it's kind of like a poison tick, but like on everyone at the same time. This is going to be really, really useful on the spider dungeon, but there's a lot of other fights where it'll just do more damage to the boss anyways. Also fills this champion's turn meter by 30% if there's 3 or more HP burn debuffs. So, I mean, this would be like, well, actually, no, I think it can be on the same target. I don't quote me on that because I don't have them, but I'm pretty sure that that can be on the same target as well. I mean, it just as long as you get this booked out to 100%, then yeah, you're probably going to be triggering this part as well. So that's really, really nice. And his A1 attacks twice. Again, that 10% crit chance thing there. And then a 40% chance of increasing the duration of HP burn debuff. So you're just basically going to go from the A3 to the A2 to the A1 and then, go from there. And he's going to put out a lot of damage, which is why I think he's going to be a really good character for PvE progress. And that's why I push him on my channel personally. But I do want to show you that Supreme Gallic is also he is also rated a 4, but he's a Void champion, which is really good because it means that he's not going to have any weaknesses really from any of the other bosses or dungeons. Void, this is the first time they've had like a promo code, I think, for a Void champion. So this is worth noting as well. And as far as where they recommend, again, he's a 5-star rating for Spider, 4-star for Dragon. There's some other hard mode bosses that you can use him on as well. Hydra, Doom Tower. So he has way more PvE applicabilities, in my opinion, than Sun Wukong. He's not a PvP champion, though, but you're going to get a lot of value out of him. And he's part of the Orcs faction, which I feel like some factions have less immediately available good characters. So I honestly think that if you're looking to progress in PvE, it's going to be Supreme Gallic. Now, the third character is a character I know extremely well, who they recently added to a promo code, and it's Alice the Wanderer. So they have her in a promo code now, which I will share with you guys. It is Get Alice. You might have actually seen it on your PC client or Play and Play. They've been pushing this. I think this started at the start of April. And so if you use this on a new account, then you can get Alice the Wanderer for free as well now. Her chase, the Alice chase just finished over the last week or so, I believe. And then now they're making her available this way. There's a big caveat though, and I love Alice. She's like my number one damage character in my roster. She is the most powerful character, but there's a reason for this, and that's because during the Alice chase, they gave away a free 5 red star or 5 red perfect soul, and so this was really, really important because this makes a huge, significant difference on a legendary character to get additional power, especially out of someone like Alice. This allowed me to activate the Brimstone blessing for Alice, especially at the 5 red activation, which is super significant because smite debuffs are very, very powerful in PvE content. Also, the plus 75 accuracy and all of these stats that I'm getting for free for the red stars that I got just for playing the game. And so the only problem is while I really, really like Alice and I like her kit, not being able to get that free 5 red by using the promo code instead of what we got for free from doing the Alice chase makes a pretty big difference, I think, to her viability. So at that point, I would be like Alice versus Supreme Gallic, and I think that one for one, I'd probably take Supreme Gallic. But I'd be interested to hear from you guys in the comments down below if there's anyone who is watching this who's more of a veteran player. I really like her kit though. Her Clockwork Cyclone A2 is insane, and I'll show you that right now. I'll show you. I use Alice as my number one farmer for characters when I'm food farming. That's who I use. If I have, can I throw together 3 characters, right? And I'll just show you. I run this with Alice. I can run this really fast. I've done this in other videos. I've talked about Alice a lot in other videos. She's great. But I think that by not having the 5 red or any red stars at all is going to drop some value on her there, where we got it for free for the Alice chase. So I'm having a difficult time whether or not I would still take her over somebody like Supreme Gallic. For sure, I'm getting a lot of PvE value for Alice, but I don't know if she scales long term in terms of endgame content, where you probably get a little bit more value out of somebody like Supreme Gallic. That being said, I'm still using Alice everywhere, but a lot of that has to do with the red stars. I think I'm using her in my clan boss team, in my demon lord. I don't know if can I show you that down here? Do I my attacks here, right? So it does include Alice, right? And she's actually my number one damage dealer still on this team. I think a lot of that comes to the fact that she's also my Brimstone character for blessing, and you typically want a Brimstone blessing on all of running in your PVE content when you're running that, and she's like in everywhere in almost every one of my teams. So it makes a pretty significant difference for me having that over not having it. She also does. She's kind of book hungry as well. Like realistically, you kind of do want to get her booked out, whereas possibly someone like Supreme Gallic and Sun Wukong don't need it as much, and so they can actually do what they need to do a little bit easier. I feel that Alice, in order to use her everywhere, you kind of do need to have these books, especially Clockwork Cyclone. You really need to get that up to the maximum level. So I love Alice. I think she's a really great character, but I think she loses the value if I consider that without the red stars. I think that's where I think things would fall flat a little bit. So I just wanted to go over these characters. These 3 are like the main ones that I think that I would recommend to pick up. But there is a couple other ones. I do want to mention that there is, sorry, Loki the Deceiver. There is a promo code for him as well, which you can get. I believe it was up here. I forgot what the name of the promo code actually was. I should have been in here. Get Loki, right? So promo code Get Loki if you want Loki the Deceiver. I think he's more of an arena based champion as well, but I don't think he's as good as Sun Wukong. He just does a little bit differently, right? So I mean, like in terms of his ratings, as far as where you're going to use him, there is some general like PVE dungeon usage, and you're seeing the same set of 4-star on Hydra, same as Sun Wukong. Actually, I think Wukong might have even had a 5-star on Hydra. He's a really good Hydra champion. So there's a lot of similarities and overlaps as far as his kit goes. He's more of a controller type character, has a lot of debuffs, things like that. And then there's one other one that I want to talk about, which is Taragi the Frog, and the reason, and he's an epic actually, and the only reason why this gets like an honorable mention is because he would be very helpful in pushing Demon Lord Clan Boss a lot, but I do not think that this is a new player friendly choice. I think this is more if you're deciding to make an alt account and you know what you're doing, where you would pick Taragi the Frog to kind of push up your early Demon Lord team. I think this is probably what you would do because he has a lot of stuff. He's like a 5-star here on Demon Lord Clan Boss because of his kit and what he does as well, which is mostly like him putting out poison. I think it's poison. Yeah, right here. When attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. So this basically keeps stacking up every time that they do AoE damage. That the Demon Lord does AoE damage, and it's constantly just reflecting poison back at him essentially. So these are some other characters, but I just wanted to go over mainly Wukong, Alice, and Supreme Gallic. I still think that because he's also a Void champion, I got to go with my man Supreme Gallic, right? But I did want to mention that again, right? I wanted to go over all 3 of the characters, the pros and cons, and at the end of the day, you should choose the character that most kind of fits with you. If you like the looks of one of the characters, and that might help you to stick with the game a little bit more, that kind of thing. If that matters to you, I just wanted to raise that to your guys' attention. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure that you download using the QR code in the top right hand of the screen or in the link in the description below, because not just these champions, but you'll also get a legendary Elena roll from the Heil faction and 2 epics, Rector Drath and Ugo, who I use every single day as well, as you can see in my roster. Ugo, Rector Drath, they're both there. That's it for the video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If I had to start a new account again, I think I would still go for Supreme Gallic. Even though they recently added Alice, I think just having the base version of her just might not be enough. But that's just my opinions anyways. That's it for now, everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.